媒体朋友们，大家好。今天的记者会将在今天下午的3点准时开始。为了共同维护良好的采访秩序，我做3点提示。第一，全场只有提问的环节使用交传翻译，其他环节都使用同传翻译。新闻中心已经为大家准备了同传耳机，有需要的朋友可以取用，在结束时归还原处。
Friends from the press, good afternoon. Today's press conference will begin on time at 3 p.m. To ensure the order of the conference, I have 3 reminders to give. First, consecutive interpretation will be used only for the part when journalists raise questions. Opening remarks and answers to questions will be interpreted simultaneously. If you need receivers for simultaneous interpretation, please ask for one at the press center and kindly return it after the conference concludes.
2. 请获得提问机会的记者有序提问。提问前请通报所代表的媒体的名称。为了让更多的媒体朋友有提问的机会，请每位获得提问机会的记者只提1个问题。提问时请简洁清晰。
Second, to journalists who are given the chance to raise questions, please identify your media affiliation before asking your question. In order to allow more journalists to get the chance to ask, we kindly request you to ask only one question and keep it concise and clear.
3. 记者会进行期间，请关闭手机，或将手机所有功能全部置于静音状态。请大家检查一下，请不要在现场接听或者拨打手机。
Third, we kindly ask you to confirm that your phones are turned off or fully muted throughout the press conference, and please do not make phone calls during the conference.
祝大家采访顺利，谢谢。
Wish you all the best. Thank you.
媒体朋友们，
Friends from the press, good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference for the second session of the 14th National People's Congress on the topic of economy. The Press Center is delighted to have invited 5 distinguished guests to join us in today's press conference and answer your questions. They are Mr. Zheng Shanjie, Chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission, Mr. Lan Foan, Minister of Finance, Mr. Wang Wentao, Minister of Commerce, Mr. Gongsheng, Governor of the People's Bank of China, and Mr. Wu Qing, Chairman of China Securities Regulatory Commission.
Thank you. Now the floor is open for questions.
请北区第3排第1位女士提问，谢谢。
CNBC, my question is for NDRC Chair Zheng Shanjie. The government work report announced a target for this year of GDP growth around 5%, while several international institutions have said that China's GDP will likely grow around 4.5% this year. What's your view on China's economy in the year ahead? What are the major drivers that can help China achieve this growth target, and how can they offset any drags? Thank you.
美国消费者新闻与商业频道记者提问，我的问题提给郑主任。政府工作报告将今年中国经济增长预期目标设定为5%左右，而一些国际机构的预测则为4.5%左右。您如何看待今年中国经济形势？支撑中国经济实现增长目标的主要动能有哪些？它们能否抵消拖累增长的负面因素？
谢谢您的提问。
Thank you for your question. I would like to take this opportunity to express our thanks to the press for interest in and support for the work of the NDRC. The question you asked is followed very closely by all sides. The status of the Chinese economy is also followed closely by all parties. We have noted that some international institutions, based on their own understanding and assessment, have put forward different views and opinions and projections for the China's economic growth. Some are higher and some are lower. And we have also been adjusting our economic growth target on an ongoing basis. Well, this year we have set the target at around 5%. This is a decision made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council based on balanced consideration of various factors. It is made through scientific analysis, a decision made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council based on balanced consideration of various factors. It is made through scientific analysis, a decision made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council based on balanced consideration of various factors. It is made through scientific analysis. Stability, progress, and soundness. Well, this can be summed up as new progress in 3 fields. I will give you some figures. Well, firstly, on aggregate indicators, new progress was made in turning the economy around. We could look at 3 aggregate indicators. The first is economic growth, second, employment, and third, balance of payments. In terms of economic growth, over the course of last year, the Chinese economy experienced a slow start, but picked up in the middle of the year and achieved a stable growth toward year end, registering an annualized growth of 5.2%, 2.2 percentage points higher than the previous year. On employment, the average surveyed urban unemployment rate was 5.2%, 0.4 percentage points lower than the previous year. On balance of payments, foreign exchange reserve totaled $3.24 trillion at the end of the year, $110.3 billion more than the previous year. Well, secondly, on structural indicators, new progress was made in economic restructuring. Again, there are 3 indicators to look at, which are all very important. The first one is investment in high-tech manufacturing sector, which increased by 9.9%, 3.4 percentage points faster than the overall investment growth in the whole manufacturing industry. The second is investment in high-tech service sector, which increased by 11.4%, 11 percentage points faster than the overall investment growth in the service industry. The third is value added of service sector, which increased by 5.8%, 0.6 percentage point faster than overall economic growth. So all these 3 indicators and the figures can tell us that the economic structure is going to be further improved going forward. Thirdly, on qualitative indicators, new progress was made improving the quality of economic development, where this can be seen in 4 aspects. First, on scientific and technological innovation, R&D intensity rose to 2.64%, and total R&D investment was 3.3 trillion yuan. And well, this R&D intensity was 0.08 percentage points higher than the previous year. And that equals to 250 billion yuan of R&D investment, which is indeed no mean feat. And in the meantime, we could see that major innovation results kept emerging throughout the year. And there were encouraging news throughout the year as well. On new growth drivers, last year, China produced and sold 9.5 million new energy vehicles, growing by over 35%. Production of lithium-ion batteries went up by 25%, and production of solar panels increased by 54%. Exports of these 3 major products, known as the new trio, rose by nearly 30%. And I want to mention in particular that the export of new energy vehicles last year totaled 1.2 million units, up by 77.6%, ranking the first in the world. And the surge in export of new energy vehicles also made China the largest exporter of new vehicles in the world. Well, this shows that we're making faster progress in transitioning from the old model of growth to new growth model. And high quality development has created new competitiveness for Chinese producers. On ecological environment, emissions of major pollutants kept falling, and the quality of ecological environment steadily improved. And there are ample figures in the report on the draft plan for national economic and social development. On secure development, we ensured effective protection of economic security and overcame the impact of disasters such as pre-harvest rain in the middle of the year and floods in the 3rd quarter. With the help of advanced grain cultivation technologies, grain production hit a new high last year, reaching 695 billion kilograms. In the meantime, resolution of security risks in key areas also made steady progress. All this demonstrates that we are making new progress in seeking coordinated progress in high quality development and secure development. And these are the achievements we have made over the past year, which have indeed not come by easily. And secondly, in terms of the future trend of growth, looking ahead, there will be more favorable conditions than unfavorable ones for China's economic growth in 2024. And the momentum of economic rebound will be further consolidated and reinforced. We have strong underpinnings in place for the economy in both short and long-term cycles. So let me explain this from 4 perspectives. Well, firstly, the foundation of development is firmer. Again, 3 points. Point number 1, the new pattern of development is being formed at a faster pace. China now has a 126 trillion yuan plus economy and a supersized market, which is one of the biggest resources for China. And development between urban and rural areas is getting more balanced. All this promises huge market opportunities and development potential. We will continue to improve business environment and expand high standard opening up, which will not only facilitate domestic circulation, but also contribute to the domestic international dual circulation. This will generate a lot of business opportunities for Chinese investors, and also massive business opportunities for visionary multinational corporations and international investors. Point number 2, we are advancing high quality development on all fronts. China has a complete industrial system, a rich reserve of high quality human resources, and a full-fledged network of physical and institutional infrastructures. Our innovation capability is rapidly improving. New growth drivers are being formed and nurtured at a fast speed, and the shock-absorbing capability and resilience of the Chinese economy are strengthening. Point number 3, we are forging ahead in comprehensively deepening reform, and the internal dynamism of development is constantly increasing. All this has firmed up the foundation for consolidating the current momentum of economic rebound and securing a favorable long-term prospect of economic growth. Secondly, macro policies are being applied with greater intensity. Building on the vigorous implementation of macro policies and the combination of policy steps taken last year, we will continue to enhance macro regulation, increase coordination of fiscal, monetary, employment, industrial, and regional development policies, and step up efforts to boost the real economy, stimulate consumption, increase foreign investment, and stabilize foreign trade. We will introduce new policies, including promoting large-scale equipment retrofitting and consumer goods replacements, and issuing ultra-long special Treasury bonds. Meanwhile, previously adopted policies, including additional Treasury bonds, cuts of interest rate and required reserve ratio, and tax and fee reduction, are starting to pay off. Together, they will provide a strong driving force for ensuring steady economic growth. We will counter potential unpredictable factors externally with our own certainty and predictability. Thirdly, localities across the nation are working more actively to promote development. You may have noticed that all the 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities had held their own 2 sessions before the Spring Festival. We have combed through the economic targets set by various localities for this year and found that most of the provinces have set a higher growth target than the growth they actually delivered last year. And 23 provinces have set a target that is higher than the national target. We believe that these targets have been set based on the assessment of the local situation and the consideration of various macro and micro factors by the local governments. And we can also see that all localities are fully motivated in doing their work. Fourthly, favorable factors keep building up. Entering the new year, the Chinese economy has sustained its momentum of recovery and growth, with rapid increase in leading indicators such as quantity of goods produced. There are three indicators that I want to mention in particular. One is electricity generation. Because last year, Spring Festival was in January, and this year it is in February. So to make the figures and data statistics more comparable, we are making a comparison of electricity generation in the first 2 months of the year. So in the first 2 months of 2024, electricity generation nationwide increased by 11.7%. And also according to customs statistics, exports in the first 2 months also increased by about 10%. And the balance of medium to long-term loans by 20 major banks increased by 31%, which is much faster than all types of loans in the same period. And consumption in culture, tourism, and catering sectors was booming. During the Spring Festival, the number of tourists on domestic tours increased by 34.3% year-on-year. And it also went up by 19% compared to the same period of 2019, before the pandemic, on comparable terms. Well, the second group of indicators is about business operation. In February, production and operation expectation index of the manufacturing sector was 54.2%, and the business activities expectation index of the non-manufacturing sector was 57.7%. These two figures are both very important because both of them remained in the expansionary territory. So in view of the above, a good start can be well expected in the first quarter. That said, we are soberly aware that in striving to meet the set goals, we will have to overcome quite a lot of difficulties, such as the more complex and grave external environment, the outstanding challenges in the building of a unified national market, abnormally fierce competition in certain industries, and difficulties faced by some companies in their production and operation. And there are also risks and hidden dangers in certain sectors and areas. But I think it's normal and natural to have these problems. And I should say that these are all problems in the course of moving forward, and they can be resolved through development. We are confident and convinced that under the strong leadership of the Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core, and with the concerted efforts of all localities, departments, and all types of business entities, we have the confidence, capacity, conditions, and resourcefulness to promote the sustained recovery and the long-term growth of the Chinese economy and accomplish all the goals and the tasks of economic and social development set for this year with high quality. Thank you.
继续提问，请中区第2排这位女士提问，谢谢。中区第2排这位女士。
谢谢主持人。中央广播电视总台央视记者提问，我的问题同样想提给发改委的郑山杰主任。郑主任您好，我们知道政府工作报告指出，像今年我们要发这个超长期特别国债，专项用于国家的重大战略实施和重点领域的安全能力建设。所以我想请问郑主任，这个政策的出台呢，主要是出于哪些因素的考虑？另外，下一步政策将如何见效落地？还有呢，就是今年在加大有效投资方面，我们还有哪一些重要的举措，也想请您介绍一下，谢谢。
China Media Group, CCTV. My question also goes to Chairman Zheng. The government work report laid out the plan to issue ultra-long special treasury bonds to implement major national strategies and build up security capacity in key areas. What are the considerations behind the introduction of this policy, and how will the government ensure its effective implementation? What further measures will be taken this year to boost effective investment?
Thank you for your question. You have asked a very important question, which has been very much talked about in recent days. Issuing ultra-long special treasury bonds is a major policy step, and boosting effective demand is an important means to carry out our work. So let me first give you some background about how the bonds will be issued and used. Starting from this year, we will issue ultra-long special treasury bonds each year in the coming years to be used on implementing major national strategies and building up security capacity in key areas. This is a major decision made by the Party Central Committee and State Council in line with the overall strategy of building a great socialist country and advancing national rejuvenation. It is a decision that has both immediate impact and a long-term benefit. So there are several keywords. One, treasury bonds. Second, ultra-long. Third, special. And fourth, each of the next several years. It will be issued over each of the next several years. So it can not just drive investment and consumption, but also lay a solid foundation for high-quality development over the long run. In terms of background, the issuance of the bonds is required by the need to adapt to the profound changes on the international landscape and firmly seize the initiative of development. It is also called for by the need to coordinate development and security and ensure solid progress in promoting high-quality development. We need to pool the strength of all sides to seek major breakthroughs and make sustained efforts to firm up the foundation for accelerating Chinese modernization and achieving the second centenary goal on schedule. In terms of where the funds will be used, we will follow the principles of addressing concrete problems, taking targeted and systemic steps, and ensuring coordination and efficiency to tackle the major and challenging tasks in building a great socialist country and advancing national rejuvenation. As the first step, the funds will mainly be used to support scientific and technological innovation, integrated urban-rural development, coordinated development among different regions, food and energy security, and high-quality population development. These are all sectors with huge development demand and the long investment cycles. And the existing funding channels are unable to fully satisfy their demands, hence the need for additional support. As for how the policy will be implemented, the NDRC is now working expeditiously with relevant departments to formulate a specific action plan. Once approved, implementation will begin right away. We will use the method of reform and a market mechanism to coordinate investment and institutional building, steadily advance the construction of key projects, strengthen fund and project supervision, adopt matching policies, strengthen monitoring of policy implementation to make sure that the proposed steps will be delivered with high quality. Whereas for the key steps for boosting effective demand, both the government work report and the report on the draft plan for national economic and social development have provided detailed information. In summary, the goal is to increase effective demand. So there are two keywords. One is increase, the other is effective. So we will place equal emphasis on raising quality and increasing scale and focus our work in the following three areas. First, we will better leverage the catalytic effect of government investment. In addition to the ultra-long special treasury bonds, central government budget for investment and local government special purpose bonds will both increase this year. And a large chunk of the additional treasury bonds issued last year will also be put to use this year. The plan for using these funds had already been made before the Spring Festival. Well, therefore, there will be a notable increase in government investment as compared to last year. We will make good use of these funds in a coordinated way and better leverage the guiding and stimulating role of government investment, but such means as promoting venture loans and encouraging financial institutions to increase financing support and expanding the scope for special purpose loans to be used as capital for projects. Second, we will encourage and support the expansion of private investment. Private investment now accounts for over 50% of all investment in the country, so it is important to make good use of private investment. We will guide localities to put in place the new mechanism for public-private partnership and guide and support private businesses to participate in major national projects and the projects aimed at strengthening the weak links of development. We will continue to introduce good projects to private investors, make good use of the National Financing Credit Service Platform, strengthen financing support and guarantee factors for key projects. In a word, we are now doing our utmost to help private investors find good projects and also find available funding for existing projects. Well, third, we will further boost returns on investment. In this regard, we have set 3 priorities. The first is to make investment more targeted. We will focus on increasing support for cultivating new growth drivers and strengthening the weak links in development. The second is to allocate factors more efficiently. We need to make sure that factors such as land and energy resources will be channeled to good projects. The third is to foster a more convenient investment environment. We will launch a campaign to rectify the outstanding problems in the key areas for building the unified national market, deepen reform of the investment and financing system, improve the investment environment, and secure more effective investment with a bigger market and the lower investment costs. Thank you.
请大家继续提问。请蓝区第2排这位女士，谢谢。
主持人，新华社记者提问，我的问题提给蓝部长。今年的政府工作报告对实施积极的财政政策作出部署，请问2024年的财政政策有哪些新的特点？谢谢。
Xinhua News Agency. My question goes to Minister Lan. This year's government work report outlines steps to implement a proactive fiscal policy. So my question is, what are the new features of the fiscal policy in 2024?
Thank you for your question. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, friends from the press, for your interest in our work. The question you asked has been closely followed after Premier Li Qiang delivered the government work report yesterday. Sound and effective macro regulation is an important safeguard for steady and healthy economic and social development. The CPC Central Committee decided that in 2024, we will intensify counter and cross-cyclical adjustments through macro policies, continue to implement a proactive fiscal policy and a prudent monetary policy, and that we should appropriately enhance the intensity of our proactive fiscal policy and improve its quality and effectiveness. This is a major decision made by the CPC Central Committee from a strategic and overall perspective based on full consideration of the situation. It clarifies the primary task for high-quality development and defines the major challenge of China's development. It maintains stability and consistency of the policies. Therefore, a proactive fiscal policy is of great importance, which has been implemented since 2018. On this basis, the government work report further outlined the steps of implementing a proactive fiscal policy, and we will follow through on the plan. Appropriately enhancing the intensity and improving the quality and effectiveness will be the principle and feature of this year's fiscal policy. So how should we understand that? To appropriately enhance the intensity, we will coordinate all fiscal policy instruments, appropriately increase government spending, and implement tax and fee relief policies so as to promote high-quality development. There are three aspects. First, government spending will be generally intensified. We have set the deficit to GDP ratio for this year at 3%, which remains at a high level, and the government deficit at 4.06 trillion yuan. Meanwhile, we will coordinate all financial resources and step up government spending. We have set the expenditure in the National General Public Budget for this year at 28.5 trillion yuan, an increase of more than 1 trillion yuan over last year, ensuring sufficient funding for major national strategic tasks and ensuring improvement both in quality and quantity. Second, government bonds will be notably increased. 3.9 trillion yuan of special purpose bonds for local government and 1 trillion yuan of ultra-long special treasury bonds will be issued, totaling 4.9 trillion yuan. Besides, the 1 trillion yuan of treasury bonds newly issued in the fourth quarter last year will be mainly used this year. These are all tangible government spending, which will propel and expand effective non-governmental investment and support the weak links and inject the momentum of economic development and propel economic transformation. Third, structural tax and fee reduction policies will be further implemented. On the basis of a sound implementation of extended and optimized tax and fee relief policies last year, we will study and roll out structural tax and fee reduction policies in a targeted way and give more support to scientific and technological innovation and the manufacturing industry so as to better modernize the industrial system. To improve the quality and effectiveness, we will improve fiscal management and enhance policy coordination so as to improve the quality and effectiveness of the fiscal policy. Regarding fiscal management, we will tap into management for better performance. We will follow the requirement of keeping our belts tightened, improve the structure of government spending, and use every penny where they are needed most. We will enhance budgetary performance management and improve the performance of budgetary funds. We will tighten up financial and economic discipline and strictly prohibit wasteful and excessive spending. Regarding policy coordination, we will strengthen coordination to see that together they deliver greater outcomes. We will use tax and fees, special funds, government bonds, and other policy instruments in a coordinated manner, strengthen coordination with monetary, employment, industrial, and other policies. We will carry out effective policy combinations instead of making one policy for one single purpose and foster greater synergy between the policies. To summarize, we will act on the decisions of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council to earnestly implement a proactive fiscal policy, consolidate and enhance the economic recovery and growth with tangible outcomes. Thank you.
谢谢，请大家继续提问。请中区第一排第3位这位男士，谢谢。
好的，谢谢主持人，我是新京报贝壳财经记者，想要提问的是商务部的王文涛部长。你好，在2023年呀，消费对于我国经济增长的贡献率达到了82.5%。那么我想请问的是，在新的一年里，商务部对于扩大消费以及激发有潜能的消费，我们会采取什么样的措施？谢谢。
The Beijing News. My question goes to Minister Wang. Consumption contributed 82.5% of growth in 2023. What measures will the Ministry of Commerce take this year to promote continued growth of consumer spending and tap potential of consumption?
Thank you for your question. Just like what you said, consumption contributed 82.5% to economic growth. Last year, the consumption market registered steady recovery. Especially during the Spring Festival holiday, maybe you have noted that according to Commerce Big Data Monitoring, the sales of key retail and catering enterprises in China were up by 8.5%, and traffic and turnover of the national demonstration pedestrian streets increased by 32.9% and 36.1% respectively. Maybe you have also noted that during the Spring Festival, the Ministry of Commerce, together with 5 other ministries or departments, launched the Chinese New Year online shopping festival to help the Chinese people feel the lively atmosphere of the traditional market, both offline and online. More than 320 supporting activities were held, and some Chinese fashion and jewelry brands were highly sought after. And this year, we will hold a series of activities to promote consumption, and this is the first one of this kind. In going forward, we will guide lower-level authorities to carry out colorful and diverse activities to promote consumption and continue to release consumption potential. For this year's consumption, maybe you have noted the 2 key tasks of MOFCON to promote consumption. One is to promote the replacement of old consumer goods, and the other is to expand consumption of services. Let me start with the consumer goods trade-in. China's automobile, households, appliances, and home decoration markets are all of a big size. A number of products have a long service life, high energy consumption and emissions, and some suffer quality and safety risks. So now we are faced with a concentrated upsurge in renewal demand. For example, there are, according to our statistics, more than 16 million passenger cars with emissions limits of 3 or below, of which more than 7 million are over 15 years old. On average, about 270 million household appliances exceed their safe service life each year. Promoting the exchange of old consumer goods for new ones is not only an effective measure to strengthen the current impetus for economic growth and consolidate the momentum of recovery, but also a long-term strategy to promote high-quality development. And here I'd like to stress that this trade-in is done, of course, on a voluntary basis. General Secretary Xi Jinping made important arrangements for this work at the 4th meeting of the Central Commission for Financial and Economic Affairs. And last week, the executive meeting of the State Council deliberated and adopted the work plan. We will implement it. The idea is with the market playing the main role and through policy support and guidance, we will work to fully mobilize the enthusiasm of all parties and form an effective mechanism that makes it easier to replace the old with the new. Now, on our work to expand consumption of services, in recent years, China's service consumption has grown rapidly. With the improvement of our standards of living, the consumption of goods has registered slower growth. But the consumption of services has accounted for a larger share of residents' overall consumption. In the decade to 2023, the share has grown from 39.7% to 45.2%, an increase of 5.5 percentage points. Going forward, we will work with relevant departments to focus on promoting service consumption by doing the following three things. First, we will strengthen overall planning and build a 1+N work system. One is the overall formulation of a comprehensive policy documents to clearly set out the goals, tasks, and key measures of expanding service consumption. N is to introduce multiple policy documents and specific support measures in industry consumption, policy support, factors guarantee, and environment improvement. Second, we will open the service sector wider and enrich the supply of service consumption. We will also ease market access for services such as telecommunications and medical care, make good use of both domestic and foreign markets, and continue to expand the supply of quality services. Third, we will build multiple platforms and create new scenarios for service consumption. We will host various activities such as the service consumption season and Chinese Food Festival to promote the integrated development of business, tourism, sports, health, and better meet the people's demand for personalized, diversified, and high-quality services. Thank you.
请北区第二排这位举手的第三位男士，第二排，对，谢谢。
谢谢主持人。我是人民日报社记者，我想向中国人民银行行长潘功胜先生提问。今年以来，降准力度和贷款利率下行幅度都超过市场预期。下阶段货币政策还将如何支持经济回升向好？谢谢。
People's Daily. My question goes to Governor Pan. This year, we have seen cuts in the reserve requirement ratio and the loan prime rate that went beyond market expectations. Going forward, how will the monetary policy of China further support its economic recovery and growth?
Thank you for your question. For a long time, the PBOC has adopted an open and professional attitude, and we have kept in good touch with friends from the media. So here I'd like to thank you for your interest in and support for the work of the PBOC. I believe all of you are closely following the PBOC's policies and the latest developments. During the State Council Information Office press conference, I talked with you on this, and today I'd like to take this opportunity to further elaborate on the PBOC's standpoint on relevant issues. And just now, Director Zheng said that the Chinese economy is recovering and high-quality development is making solid progress. But the current situation at home and abroad is still complex and fluid. Thus, it is necessary to apply system thinking and take a coordinated and balanced approach. We still have enough tools and enough policy room for maneuvers. We will strike a balance between the short and long term, between stabilizing growth and preventing risks, and between internal and external equilibrium. We will strengthen counter-cyclical and cross-cyclical adjustment, boosting confidence, improve expectations, and keep prices stable so as to create a sound monetary and financial climate for realizing the economic and social development goals set for 2024. First, we will maintain an appropriate increase in money supply. Last year, we cut the required reserve ratio, or RRR, twice by 25 basic points each. Last month, it was cut by another 50 basic points. So that means we released about 1 trillion yuan in long-term liquidity at a time. At present, the statutory reserve ratio is 7% on average, and there is still room for future cuts. We will use a combination of monetary policy instruments to maintain reasonably sufficient liquidity. We will support steady growth in and balanced distribution of aggregate financing as well as monetary and credit supply. And we will work to ensure that aggregate financing and the M2 money supply will be in alignment with the targets set for economic growth and price levels. Second, we will continue to lower the overall financing cost. Last year, we cut interest rate twice. We lowered interest rates on existing mortgages for first home loans and guided major banks to lower their deposit ranks. Last month, we guided them to lower the over 5-year LPR by 0.25 percentage points. And the over 5-year LPR is a benchmark interest rate that influences the pricing of personal mortgage and medium and long-term investment. As such, this move will effectively lower financing costs and support investment and consumption. Keeping prices stable and promoting a moderate recovery of prices will be an important consideration when we adjust the monetary policy, and the soundness of the balance sheets of the banking sector will also be taken into account. In doing so, we will be able to lower the overall financing cost. Third, we will pay more attention to make structural monetary policy instruments more effectual. We will further enhance the effectiveness of monetary policy in promoting economic restructuring, transformation, and upgrading, and replacing old growth drivers with new ones. We will set up re-lending facilities for sci-tech innovation and transformation, continue to adopt re-lending facilities to support carbon emission reduction, give full play to the incentive role of structural monetary policy instruments so that they can foster a synergy with other policies for more progress in the 5 important areas. We will guide financial institutions to assess risks, restrict financing supply for industries with excess production capacity, and meet reasonable consumption and financing needs in a more targeted manner, and make better use of existing financial resources. Fourth, we'll keep the RMB exchange rate generally stable. We have, based on market supply and demand, adopted a series of macro-prudential management measures and kept the RMB exchange rate basically stable. This year, the monetary policies of major economies are expected to shift. The momentum of US dollar appreciation is weakening, and the index has decreased from 104 to 103 for US dollars. And the gap between domestic and foreign monetary policy cycles tends to narrow. So China's economic fundamentals will continue to recover and turn for the better, and participants in the foreign exchange market are becoming more mature. So all this helps offer more room for China's monetary policy maneuvers. And in February, 30% of China's goods in foreign trade were settled by RMB. So all this will help us realize balanced cross-border capital flows and keep the RMB exchange rate generally stable. The PBOC will work with professionalism and pragmatism in implementing the decisions and plans of the Party Central Committee and the State Council. We will uphold the fundamental purpose of serving the real economy, intensify macro control, strengthen counter-cyclical and cross-cyclical adjustment, consolidate and boost the momentum of economic recovery, and continue to promote high-quality development. Thank you.
请南区第3排第2位女士。谢谢。
谢谢澎湃新闻记者提问。我的问题提给国家发展改革委郑主任。郑主任您好，我国对大规模设备更新和消费品以旧换新作出部署。那请问发改委将在哪些领域采取哪些举措来推动这项工作？谢谢。
The paper. My question goes to Chairman Zheng. China is rolling out plans to promote large-scale retrofitting of equipment, as well as trading programs of consumer goods. In advancing work on this front, what areas will the NDRC focus on, and what measures will it take?
谢谢您的提问。
Thank you for your question. Again, this is an issue that has been much talked about in recent days. Promoting large-scale equipment retrofitting and trading of consumer goods is a major step taken by the Party Central Committee and State Council in light of the overall goal of high-quality development. It can stimulate investment, drive consumption, and also help expand advanced capacity and increase production efficiency. It also contributes to energy conservation and emission reduction and reduces safety risks. It not just delivers benefits to the business sector, but also improves people's well-being. All in all, it is a policy initiative with multiple benefits. Let me share with you some figures. First is about equipment. Last year, investment in industrial and agricultural sectors totaled 4.97 trillion yuan. With the deepening of high-quality development, there will be even greater demand for equipment retrofitting. According to our initial assessment, the total size of the market will be over 5 trillion yuan. And in terms of durable consumer goods, at the end of last year, China's automobile ownership reached around 336 million units, while ownership of major home appliances such as refrigerators, washing machines, and air conditioners surpassed 3 billion units. So the trading of consumer goods like automobiles and home appliances will also create a trillion yuan scale market. And all these will provide great space for development. In accordance with the decisions of the Party Central Committee and the State Council, the NDRC is now working with relevant departments to formulate a policy document for implementing this program. Or it is an action plan for promoting large-scale equipment retrofitting and trading of consumer goods. Just now, Minister Wang also referred to this action plan. It is already approved by the Party Central Committee and the State Council. Under the action plan, there will be 4 major campaigns. One is the campaign of equipment retrofitting. Second, the campaign of consumer goods trading. Third, the campaign of waste recycling. And fourth, campaign of standard upgrade. So these are the 4 major campaigns under the action plan. First, the campaign of equipment retrofitting. It will focus on 7 sectors, which include industry, agriculture, construction, transportation, education, culture and tourism, and medical health. All these 7 sectors have huge demand for equipment retrofitting and upgrading. Taking the industrial sector as an example, China is a global manufacturing powerhouse and has the world's largest equipment inventory in multiple categories. By the end of 2023, total asset of industrial companies above the designated size had surpassed 160 trillion yuan. With the deepening of new industrialization, the demand for advanced equipment keeps growing. We will, with a focus on energy conservation, emission reduction, digital transformation, production safety, and intelligent upgrade, push forward equipment retrofitting and upgrading in key industries. Meanwhile, as part of the efforts to promote urban renewal and renovation of old urban residential compounds, we will promote equipment retrofitting in sectors related to construction and municipal infrastructure on a category-by-category basis. We will also support the renewal of transportation equipment, as well as old and used agricultural machineries, and promote the use of more sophisticated equipment in education, culture, tourism, and health sectors. We're now in the phase of high quality development, so it is imperative for us to meet the growing demands. So all this will create provide impetus for the use of advanced and sophisticated equipment. Second, the campaign of consumer goods replacement. Just now, I already gave you some figures about the ownership of automobile and high home appliances in China. And there is now growing personalized demand for high-end consumer goods. And we can expect a surge of demand for these products. We will promote the trading of durable consumer goods. For example, in the automobile sector, we will introduce the policy of phasing out old vehicles that have surpassed their life expectancy. And also there will be trading programs for home appliances. As Minister Wang said, it will be done by consumers on their own initiative, but we will encourage and support them to replace the old home appliances with new ones. Third, the campaign of waste recycling. When there is a replacement of used products, and there will be also great need and demand for waste recycling. Wastes are misplaced resources. Taking steel as an example, last year China recycled about 260 million tons of steel scrap, which filled the demand for around 20% of crude steel production. We will step up waste recovery and recycling, as it is important for promoting the transition toward green growth and enhancing the protection of resources security. We will implement a comprehensive conservation strategy, establish a sound recycling system, develop new models such as replacement plus recycling, and ensure unimpeded circulation channels for resources recycling. Fourth, the campaign of standard upgrade. It is fair to say standards are an important driver for the upgrading of a product and an industry. We need good standards to point the direction for endeavor. We will keep in alignment with international standards, taking into account the actual conditions of the industries, the bearing capacity of businesses, and the acceptance of consumers, and leverage the steering role of energy conservation, environmental protection, safety, and recycling standards. We need to formulate new ones when there is a need, and revise existing ones that are out of step with reality. We need to ensure the orderly transition toward the use of high-end intelligent and green products and equipment. Promoting large-scale equipment retrofitting and consumer goods replacement is a systemic project. It requires the effective implementation of a full range of policy initiatives. That is why several government departments are involved in this endeavor. We will work with the relevant departments to increase the support of fiscal, financial, and taxation policies, and also guarantee the use of land, energy, and other factors. We will also provide a strong underpinning of scientific and technological innovation, carry out the 4 campaigns to good effect, and make sure that such a good initiative could deliver concrete benefits and contribute to high-quality development. Thank you.
请北区第1排第4位，男士，对，是你，谢谢。这位举手的这位，好，
谢谢主持人，中国日报记者。这个问题想提给蓝部长。我想问一下，这些年每年都在讲党政机关过紧日子，到底实效如何？今年的政府工作报告又进一步提出，各级政府要习惯过紧日子，是不是意味着政府要捂紧钱包不花钱了？谢谢。
China Daily. My question goes to Minister Lan. In recent years, it was stressed every year that party and government departments should keep their belts tightened. How effective are the efforts taken in this regard? This year's government work report further noted that governments at every level must get used to keeping their belts tightened. Does that mean the government will be reluctant to spend?
Thank you for your question. Keeping belts tightened in party and government departments is a clear requirement made by the CPC Central Committee, which governments at every level should take the lead to act on. Only as we make every penny count can our life sustained. The less the government spend, the more livelihood undertakings can use. That said, living on a tight budget does not mean being reluctant to spend. Instead, it means making spending when necessary and saving money when possible, so as to mobilize the financial resources for major undertakings. In recent years, we have strictly acted on the requirement of tightening our belts. Our efforts can be summarized as the following 3 aspects. First, we have lowered the cost of government administration and stepped up support for people's well-being. Spending budgets on official overseas visits, vehicles for official use, and official hospitality at the central level dropped by 20% from 2019, the year before the pandemic. In the same period, government spending for living needs has kept rapid growth. In 2023, government spending for education and other major livelihood areas at all levels increased by 25.5% over 2019. Second, we have made scientific plans for the spending of central government departments and increased transfer payments for local governments. While ensuring their performance of duty, central departments have taken the lead to live on a tight budget. Spending of central departments has registered negative growth from 2020 to 2022 and has slightly grown by only 0.8% in 2023, thus saving the spending for ensuring well-being and promoting development in localities. From 2019 to 2023, central government transfer payments to local governments implementation of major national strategic tasks. For example, from 2018 to 2023, government spending on science and technology has grown from 832.7 billion yuan to 1.0823 trillion yuan, up by 30%. In 2024, government spending on science and technology at the central level will continue to grow by 10% to better support technological self-reliance. This year, the government work report re-emphasized that governments at every level must get used to keeping their belts tightened. This further showed that it is not a choice of expediency, but an enduring solution. In this connection, we will act on the requirement in 3 aspects. First, we will raise our awareness. We will practice frugality and economy and reject extravagance. We will take practicing frugality in every work as a guiding principle in the long run and truly implement the principle in the whole process and every aspect of the financial work. Second, we will ensure a sound implementation. We will continue to tighten restrictions on the spending for official use, strictly implement the regulations on meetings, business trips, asset allocation, and government procurement to truly deliver on the requirement of belt tightening. We will tighten budget constraints, streamline unnecessary festive celebrations, forums, and exhibitions, withdraw surplus funds in a timely manner, and channel more spending to development and livelihood priorities. Third, we will strengthen supervision. In 2023, we have intensified oversight on accounting and dealt with illegal activities of vanity projects using fiscal funds. Going forward, we will continue to strengthen supervision and punishment, reject extravagance, and avoid engaging in vanity projects or prestige projects. Thank you.
提问，请中区后区第6位，对，这个红衣服的女士，谢谢。
谢谢主持人，我是上海证券报中国证券网的记者。我的问题想提给吴清主席。最近关于资本市场基本功能的讨论很多，大家都很知道您对此怎么看？对做好资本市场监管工作有何考虑？谢谢。
Shanghai Securities News. My question goes to Chairman Wu. There have been a lot of discussions recently on the basic function of the capital market. Could you share with us your take on this topic and the steps you have in mind to ensure sound regulation of the capital market?
好，感谢您的提问，也感谢。
Thank you for your question. I'd also want to thank you all for your interest in the functioning of the capital market. It's been less than a month since I came to work in CSRC. So I say I'm still a rookie on this position. I'm still learning and by working. So I'm still studying the decisions of the Party Central Committee and the State Council on the capital market, and I'm making the most of my time to solicit opinions and suggestions from the market, both online and offline, proactively and passively, because the capital market is indeed something that everybody is following very closely, and I've still absorbing and digesting the massive information I've been receiving. And a very important aspect is the functioning of the capital market, and in terms of the underlying logic and the fundamental issues, I think it is about the balance between equity and finance efficiency, and the balance between investment and financing. Investment and financing are like two sides of the same coin. These two functions are complementary to each other. There should be a healthy cycling and circulation between investment and financing. Without investment, there will be no financing. Without buyer, there will be no seller. Only when there is a balance between the two can there be healthy circulation in the capital market. As for fairness and efficiency, my understanding is that what's important is to ensure efficient allocation of resources in the course of fair trading, reasonable pricing, and a full competition. This is the only way to ensure lasting vitality of the capital market. However,
due to the differentiation of market participants in terms of the capital information and technologies they possess. Regulators must pay particular attention to fairness and take openness, fairness, and impartiality as the most fundamental principles. This is even more important in a market like ours, where retail investors take up the overwhelming majority. Therefore, protecting the lawful rights and interests of investors, especially retail investors, is the most important central task of CSRC. It is the most important task for CSRC. This also shows that the regulation of capital market is indeed a political task and a service to the people. Going forward, we will faithfully act on the decisions of the Central Financial Work Conference, keep to the central tasks of strengthening oversight, forestalling risks, and promoting development, stay to the course of market-oriented and law-based regulation, respect the underlying laws and rules of market operation. We need to respect the underlying laws of the economy and the market, and also the laws of innovation. We need to respect contractual spirit and universally practiced technical standards, and promote the high-quality development of the capital market. So our work will focus on strengthening and tightening. Strengthening means strengthening the backbone and the foundation of the market. In terms of size, China's capital market is already the second largest in the world. It is big in size but not strong enough. The recent volatility in the market once again exposed some deep-seated problems which deserve serious reflection. Investors are the backbone of the market, and listed companies are the foundation of the market. Both investors and listed companies are source of energy for the development of the capital market. We must treat investors with sincerity and provide them with better services. We need to strengthen investor protection in terms of laws, institutions, regulatory enforcement, and judicial practices, so as to give them greater trust and confidence in the market and attract more investors, especially long-term capital, to the market. In the meantime, we need to raise the quality of listed companies and better leverage the leading role of businesses to boost the value of investment. We will also work with administrative departments of various industries and other fellow departments involved in macro-regulation, as well as shareholders and local governments, to support companies in building their strength and provide a better environment for their business operation. Fundamentally, it is important to stay committed to deepening reform and consolidate the institutional basis for high-quality development of the capital market. On tightening means tightening regulation and management. In other words, we need to tighten regulation of the market in accordance with law and tighten management of the regulatory workforce in accordance with disciplines. The Central Financial Work Conference has stressed that financial regulation should cover all financial activities and laid out the 5 major tasks of strengthening regulation of financial institutions, behaviors, functions, as well as imposing more penetrative and long-lasting regulation. We will act on these requirements to identify and strengthen the weak links in regulation over all sectors and entities of the stock, bond, and futures market. We will keep our eyes wide open to strengthen preemptive correction of problematic institutions and businesses, front-load the disposal of various types of risks, and take prompt and resolute actions to crack down on law offenses, especially those acts of law offenses that seriously violate regulations, such as financial fraud. In terms of the management of regulatory workforce, we will enforce a strict self-discipline and strive to forge
an ironclad regulatory workforce that is up to the standard in their political awareness, professional conduct, work style, and work ethics. Thank you.
请南区第二排第二位女士。哎，是的，来自境外的那位。是。
Hello, this is Ghaida from Al Arabiya TV. My question to Minister of Commerce. Yeah, how do you view the foreign trade situation this year? Is there room for future foreign trade policies?
我是阿联酋阿拉比亚电视台记者，我的问题提给王文涛部长。我想请问您对今年的外贸形势怎么看？在稳外贸方面的政策还有加力的空间吗？
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for your question. First, on how I see the situation for foreign trade. As we see it, it will still be under a severe and complex situation. On the one hand, multiple international organizations estimated that the global economic growth rate in 2024 will still be lower than the historical average. So there will be declining external demand. And on the other hand, trade protectionism and unilateralism are on the rise. According to an IMF report, about 3,000 trade restrictive measures were implemented across the globe last year, much higher than the 1,100 restrictive measures in 2019. According to the WTO, global trade will grow by 3.3% this year. Geopolitical conflicts and the super election year will also have a spillover effect on foreign trade. They will also bring more uncertainties. That said, we've seen a lot of positive trends. In the first 2 months, we've seen growth momentums. Imports and exports are expected to continue the growth momentum since October last year, and the volume is expected to hit a record high. Just now, Chairman Zheng Shanjie said that in the first 2 months of this year, exports increased by 10.3%. For foreign trade, increased by 8.2%, and we expect that maybe this figure will lower a bit for March, but the general trajectory is upward. For Spring Festival holidays in previous years, there may be an off-season, but this peak in foreign trade was still there during the Spring Festival holiday for this year, as evidenced by the busy China-Europe Rail Express, ocean-going freighters, etc. I saw on the news that a lot of enterprises went to Frankfurt for exhibitions, and they're very confident that they will have pretty many customers this year. And the export orders for key products such as home appliances and automobiles were better than expected, but was weak for some products, for example, mobile phones, toys and shoes, etc. And also for the new trial, the trade volume for new trial increased by 30% last year, and today, if we want to make further progress, that may be very hard. But we expect that it will register steady growth. In general, we see the development of foreign trade from both the positive and negative light. But all in all, the industrial base, the factors, endowments, and especially innovation capabilities that underpin foreign trade are constantly strengthening. So our export commodities are climbing up the value chain. and there are more opportunities to increase our import market share. So foreign trade shows strong resilience. And we have every confidence and resourcefulness to further consolidate the fundamentals of foreign trade and investment. And you also asked what measures we will take to advance our work. In response to the current difficulties and uncertainties, we have made robust efforts and made full preparations in policy measures to keep foreign trade stable. So we will increase support by doing the following three things. First, on financial services, we will further improve financial services for foreign trade enterprises, especially MSMEs, and we will do that as soon as possible. Second, on trade promotion, we will continue to ensure the success of the content fair, the CIE and Securities, etc. We'll also release trade promotion information and country-specific trade guidelines and encourage enterprises to participate more in exhibitions at home and abroad. And third, on personnel exchange. Recently, you may note that flights between China and the rest of the world have continued to resume. We will work with relevant departments to make it easier for business people to apply for visas and support enterprises in promoting trade and connecting procurement operations with the overall supply chain. In the long run, to keep foreign trade stable, the key is to act on the plans set out at the Central Economic Work Conference and in the Government Work Report, accelerate the fostering of new drivers of foreign trade and promote high-quality development of foreign trade. To this end, we will focus on the following four areas. First, we will expand trade in intermediate goods. We will build a digital service platform for intermediate goods trade, hold intermediate goods exhibitions, and carry out special training for relevant enterprises, and deepen cooperation on the production and supply chains with trading partners. Second, we will continue to improve customs clearance, taxation, foreign exchange, and other policies to build supply chains and ecosystems that adapt to the development of cross-border e-commerce. Maybe you have noted that a lot of e-commerce corporations and platforms are growing fast. The key is to offer them a sound ecosystems and industrial and supply chains. And we will further digitalize trade. We will take the digital pivot zone for global trade in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, the Shanghai pilot free trade zone as carriers to advance trade digitalization. We will accelerate the digitalization of international trade documents, build consensus on cooperating in bilateral and multilateral areas, and explore cooperation paths. Fourth, we will promote green trade. We will support trade in green and low carbon products of high quality. So this is what we must do to make our trade more highly valued and greener. We will also build a public service platform for green trade development, help foreign trade enterprises accelerate green and low carbon transformation, and make our chains greener. Thank you.
这一位中区第一排第三位男士，谢谢。
谢谢主持人，我是每日经济新闻记者。我这个问题提给人民银行的潘行长，关于着力做好科技金融、绿色金融、普惠金融、养老金融、数字金融5篇大文章，人民银行是怎么考虑的？谢谢。
National Business Daily. My question goes to Governor Pan. What will the PBOC do to facilitate progress in the 5 areas of technology finance, green finance, inclusive finance, pension finance, and digital finance?
谢谢。
Thank you for your question. To do a good job in the 5 important areas is a key for finance to contribute to the high-quality development of the real economy. It is also an important part of deepening the supply-side structural reform in the financial sector. In recent years, the PBOC, together with other relevant departments, has continued to increase financial support for key areas and weak links of the national economy. And we promoted the sustained and rapid growth of credit issuance for sci-tech development, environmental protection, and financial inclusion. And we have accumulated some good experiences and mature practices. We will strengthen coordination and cooperation with management departments of science and technology, environmental protection, and other industries, so as to make financial support more robust, sustainable, and professional. At the macro level, we will strengthen top-level design and systematic planning. Regarding tech theme, sci-tech enterprises generally go through 4 stages: seed, startup, growth, and maturity. And all the enterprises will have different financial demands at different stages of this life cycle. In the early stage, they may need more venture capital and other capital for their entrepreneurship. This is our weak link. In assessing the risks of sci-tech enterprises, we need to increase our capability. So going forward, we need to show up weak links and build a financial service system that covers the whole life cycle of sci-tech enterprises. In terms of green finance, we will continue to improve the standard financial system for green transformation. We will roll out more products in this regard and strengthen the market discipline mechanism based on innovation disclosure. We will work unswervingly both to consolidate and develop the public sector and encourage, support, and guide the development of the non-public sector. We will improve the policy system and long-term mechanism to offer private enterprises better financial services and guide financial institutions to treat enterprises under all forms of ownership as equals. In terms of financial policies, we will set up the guidance and incentive for financial institutions. We will make good use of structural monetary policy instruments, set up re-lending facilities for sci-tech innovation and technological transformation, and we will support the development of high-end manufacturing and the digital economy. We will continue to implement re-lending facilities to support carbon emission reduction, cover more areas, and increase the amount of re-lending. In January this year, we lowered the interest rates for re-lending and rediscounting for agriculture and small businesses from 2% to 1.75%. Going forward, we will appropriately increase the amount of re-loans and rediscounts provided to farmers and small businesses, and we will raise the ceiling of such loan for each entitled household or business from 10 million yuan to 20 million yuan. In terms of financial services, we will ensure financial institutions play the main role, and we will carry out capacity building program for financial institutions so that they can provide better services to enterprises and to improve their internal incentive and discipline mechanisms. We will make financial institutions better able to assess the risks of S&T enterprises, and we will encourage financing institutions to continuously launch such products as green credit and green bonds, and invest more in key areas such as new energy and green and low carbon transformation. We will encourage financial institutions to use big data, AI, and other modern information technology. So we will focus on the 5 important areas and deepen structural supply reform, show up weak links, and to promote the upgrading and transformation of our economy and promote high quality development. Thank you.
请北区第5排第3位男士，谢谢。对，这位，是的，谢谢。
谢谢主持人。凤凰卫视、凤凰网、凤凰秀的记者提问，我们关注的是城镇化。中国是已经提前实现了“十四五”规划提出的常住人口城镇化率65%这样一个目标。可以说，城镇化是已经进入到了下半场。想为国家发改委的郑主任，您判断中国城镇化的潜力还有多大？下一步发改委将重点从哪些方面去继续推进城镇化？谢谢。
Phoenix TV, My question goes to Chairman Zheng. My question is also about urbanization. China has achieved ahead of schedule the goal in the 14th five-year plan to raise urbanization rate to 65%. And its urbanization, it is fair to say, has entered the second half. How much potential remains to be tapped in China's urbanization? And what will be the NDRC's priorities in advancing urbanization?
Thank you for your question. Well, this is a question on a very important topic. Since the 18th Party Congress, China has made significant progress in pursuing new urbanization. The share of permanent urban residents in the total population rose from 53.1% in 2012 to 66.16% last year. So then, if I may, I need to correct. The figure you cited is not 65%, it's 66.16%. This is the average figure of the whole country. And urbanization in the central and western regions still promises huge potential. And also, there is a big gap between permanent urban residents and urban population. So there is still a fairly big space for lifting China's urbanization rate. We will deepen implementation of the new urbanization strategy to constantly release the potential of domestic demand and provide impetus for Chinese modernization. According to our calculation, each 1% of increase in urbanization rate can generate over 1 trillion yuan of new investment and over 200 billion yuan of consumer demand. This year, we will focus our efforts in the following 4 areas. First, we will focus on putting people first and accelerate the efforts to grant permanent urban residency to eligible people who have moved to cities from rural areas. According to last year's survey statistics, currently there are still about 170 million rural migrant workers and their accompanying family members who have not yet received urban residency. To grant them permanent urban residency in an orderly manner is the primary task of urbanization. We will deepen reform of the household registration system, make sure that all restrictions on permanent urban residency are removed in cities with a permanent urban population of under 3 million, and relax such restrictions in all places other than a few supersized cities. We will endeavor to address the issues that are of greatest concern to people who have moved from rural areas to cities, such as children's education, housing, and social insurance, and ensure that urban residents without local household registration enjoy equal access to basic public services. As I said, education, housing, and social insurance are issues of greatest concern to the migrant population. So we need to deliver on our duties to put the principle of people-oriented development into practice. Second, we will focus on advancing new urbanization and a new industrialization in a coordinated way. Normally, localities with a high degree of industrialization have high urbanization rate. And now many localities in China are still in the process of industrialization. So there remains huge potential to drive urbanization through industrialization. We will focus our efforts on localities with a low urbanization rate but a large rural population, and build on the resources endowment and industrial basis of these localities to foster industrial clusters with distinctive features. We will advance such initiatives in light of local conditions. We will also push for the consolidation and upgrading of homogeneous and inefficient industrial parks and pool resources from all sides to build high-standard, specialized industrial parks. In this process, we will also speed up efforts to strengthen the weak links in the infrastructure and the public services of county seats, and boost the carrying capacity of county seats. Third, we will focus on pursuing coordinated development and cultivate modern metropolitan areas. Building metropolitan areas is an effective way to push for the transitioning growth model in supersized and large cities and promote coordinated development of cities of all sizes. We will leverage the catalytic impact of hub cities in driving the common development of surrounding cities and counties, and cultivate a group of metropolitan areas at a faster pace. There will be three priorities. One is transportation, second industry, and third public services. On transportation, we will strengthen the connectivity of transportation infrastructure within the metropolitan areas, steadily advance the construction of rail transport networks, and speed up efforts to tackle dead-end streets and traffic bottlenecks. On industries, we will promote more effective industrial collaboration and push for the relocation of certain industries from supersized and large cities to their vicinity. On public services, we will promote the joint development and sharing of high-quality public services within metropolitan areas. Fourth, we will focus on strengthening the weak links and boost the resilience of cities against the safety risks. In recent years, many cities have been struck by floods, fires, and other disasters and accidents. This has made it even more imperative to strengthen the safety resilience of cities. We will focus on urban centers with high population density and the key sectors with wide impact. To strengthen the foundation of urban development, we will steadily advance urban renewal projects, including the renovation of old residential compounds, the construction of government-subsidized housing, the building of dual-use public infrastructure, the improvement of flood management, and the building of underground pipeline networks, in an effort to make our cities livable, smart, and resilient. Thank you.
提问，请蓝区第一排第3位男士。对，谢谢。
谢谢主持人。经济日报记者提问。我的问题是提给吴清主席的。您刚提到上市公司是市场之基，投资者买股票买的就是上市公司。在您看来，如何提高上市公司质量，让投资者获得更好的回报？谢谢。
好，非常感谢您这个问题啊。
Economic Daily. My question goes to Chairman Wu. You mentioned that listed companies are the foundation of capital markets, and when investors buy stocks, they are essentially buying an ownership share in listed companies. In your opinion, what should be done to enhance the quality of listed companies so that investors can get better returns?
您这问题太重要了，所以我刚才都迫不及待的要回答。
Well, this is such an important question that I was eager to give my answers. You may have noticed in news reports that recently CSRC and various local governments have been paying visits to listed companies to help them resolve their difficulties. Raising the quality of listed companies requires the concerted efforts of all sides. Of course, the companies themselves need to work harder, and it also requires the improvement of the external environment. As far as the CSRC is concerned, we need to strengthen full process regulation and work with all sides to foster a healthy market and a world-class business environment. To push the listed companies to further improve governance, ensure information transparency, focus on their main business, allocate resources more efficiently, and conduct prudent operations so as to deliver better returns to investors. From a regulatory perspective, we will do the following work. First is we will closely guard the entrance. And the second is about post-IPO regulation, and third is about market exit. So first on guarding the entrance, I think IPO should not be used as a tool for making money, and the fraud in IPO applications should not happen. Therefore, there must be rigorous reviews in all steps of registration so that the companies will be forced to faithfully, accurately, and completely disclose information. We need to keep fraudulent applicants away from the capital market. Currently, CSRC has put in place on-site inspection of companies under review, and the stock exchanges also have on-site supervision. But such regulatory practices are not yet adequate enough in their coverage and must be substantially reinforced and strengthened. We will further strengthen investigation on leads to law offenses as a way to force the issuers to improve the quality of the IPO applications and force the intermediaries to better perform their professional duties and exercise due diligence in their services. Second, post-IPO routine regulation. We are currently working on three priorities. The first is to forestall and crack down on frauds. We are now working with the relevant departments to build a comprehensive punishment and protection system. We will strengthen penetrative regulation and seriously rectify and crack down on financial frauds, violation of the interests of listed companies, and other illegal acts. The second is to ensure standard procedures for share offloading, which has also been much talked about on the internet. Now, there are some loopholes in the rules of offloading, like faked divorce, short selling, and refinancing. So we need to fill in the loopholes in the relevant rules to prevent such things from happening, and also crack down on the illegal share offloading by major shareholders and actual controllers. Third priority is to promote dividend payouts. It is fair to say that in recent years, the dividend payouts of A-share listed companies has continued to improve, but there are still quite some companies that do not pay out dividends for years, and the stability, timeliness, and expectability of dividend payouts also need to be improved. For companies that do not give dividends for years or have a low dividend profit ratio, we will impose mandatory measures on them in light of their actual situations. For example, we could restrict the share offloading by controlling shareholders and issue ST warnings to these companies. We will also encourage companies to give multiple dividends each year. In particular, pay out dividends before the Spring Festival so that people will have more money to spend during the holiday. Third, we will keep the exit open. Well, many people are now calling for the exit of unqualified companies from the market, and we will take actions to answer that call. On the one hand, we will introduce more stringent standards for forced exit so that all unqualified companies will be removed from the market. On the other hand, we will improve the policies, the relevant policies to expand the channels for market exit and push companies to exit the market on their own initiative. All in all, the purpose is to ensure that the capital market is open to all eligible companies, and also unqualified companies will be able to be removed from the market. And the fourth task is to make sure that the major stakeholders undertake their due responsibility. Companies must undertake their primary responsibilities, controlling shareholders, actual controllers, directors, supervisors, and the senior managers. The so-called key minorities must step up to the plate and regulatory departments, administrative departments, and the local governments also have the responsibility. It must be stressed that the IPO, merger and acquisition, and equity incentive mechanisms must also be updated in line with the changing circumstances and put through necessary adjustments to complement the development of new quality productive forces. We need to make our systems more accommodating and adaptive so that companies with real potential could grow and thrive with the support of the capital market, and the structure of listed companies will be constantly improved to better share the fruits of high quality development with investors. Thank you.
请大家继续提问。请中区第4排这位女士，谢谢。
谢谢主持人。湖北广播电视台记者提问，我的问题想提给蓝福安部长。公共财政取之于民，用之于民，民生关系千家万户。那么，请问财政在保障民生方面采取了哪些措施？如何进一步加大对民生的支持？谢谢您。
Hubei TV, my question goes to Minister Lan. Government revenues come from the people and should be invested in the people. Issues concerning livelihood are essential for each and every family. What steps have been taken on the fiscal front to ensure people's well-being? How will the fiscal policy further strengthen support for public well-being?
谢谢。
Thank you. The question you asked has always been on my mind for some time. This spending on people's well-being covers a majority of our spending. Providing financial support for people's well-being is the basic function of the finance. Nothing is trivial when it comes to people's interests, and everything is of paramount importance when it matters to people's lives. In recent years, we have followed through on the decisions made by the CPC Central Committee to keep allocating more spending to people's lives and take more heartwarming policy measures to improve living standards, so as to turn the account book of the government into a happiness list of the people. First, the coverage has been expanded. Thanks to years of efforts, China has built the world's largest education system, social security system, and healthcare system. Our basic old age insurance now covers nearly 1.1 billion people, and more than 1.3 billion people have joined the basic medical insurance. 44 million impoverished people receive subsistence allowances or assistance and support for extreme poverty. Each year, nearly 100 million government subsidies are offered to students with financial difficulties, and 159 million people, students in compulsory education, are exempted from paying tuition and miscellaneous fees and are provided with free textbooks. Second, support has been implemented. Policy support in employment, education, social security, medical services, housing, and environment has been strengthened. For example, from 2019 to 2023, the government subsidies for basic medical insurance for rural and non-working urban residents has been raised from 520 yuan to 640 yuan per person per year, with an increase of 30 yuan annually. Financial authorities at all levels have allocated 3 trillion yuan of subsidies, and this year, the government subsidies will further increase by 30 yuan. Third, investment has been boosted. From 2019 to 2023, government spending on education has grown by 18.5%, government spending on social security and employment by 35.8%, and government spending on healthcare by 34.4%. In 2024, budget set for education and social security and employment both exceed 4 trillion yuan. Going forward, we will continue to shoulder the responsibility of improving people's lives in our work and make utmost efforts and within our capacity. We will solve pressing problems that concern the people most, step up government investment, roll out policies in a targeted manner, ensure that the basic living needs of the people are met, and make great efforts on every piece of work concerning people's lives. Thank you.
南区举手的同志很多，虽然比较远啊，那就后面那位穿红色衣服的女士，对，靠后的，是，谢谢。
谢谢。总台 CGTN 提问，我的问题想提给商务部的王部长。我们注意到您不久前率团参加了世贸组织第13届部长级会议，请您介绍一下这次会议的主要成果以及它的影响。那接下来在推动世贸组织改革以及维护多边贸易体制方面，中国还会有哪些考虑？谢谢。
CGTN, my question goes to Minister Wang. We noticed that you led the delegation to the 13th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization. Could you give us an update on the conference, including its main outcomes? What will China do going forward to promote WTO reform and safeguard the multilateral trading system?
谢谢。
Thank you for your interest in the work of the WTO. I'd like to brief you on MC13. From February 26th to March the 2nd, MC13 was held in Abu Dhabi, the UAE. I led a delegation to the conference. After the intensive and arduous consultations by all members, the conference reached practical outcomes of 1+10. The 1 means the Abu Dhabi Ministerial Declaration. This is really hard one because there used to be a presidential statement. But this year we had a ministerial declaration. The 10 include the agreement on investment